Would love to pick your brain just real quick on the running game as well, considering the Rams have been so prolific in the run game since McVay arrived there. They've been top 10 in rush touchdowns all 4 years he's there. They've been top 10 in yards and attempts in 3 of his 4 seasons. So it definitely is a big staple of this offense. They always talk about marrying that run and pass game. McVay does, and Todd Gurley had insane fantasy seasons for a couple of years in that system. Do you think it's going to be the same exact type of run game that Waldron's going to implement that he brought over from the Rams? And how do you think Carson fares in it?
Well, like I say, what'll be really different is they'll keep the zone read aspect of it. I don't think the Rams did that a whole lot. I don't think they were asking Jared. I don't think they wanted Jared Goff in too many situations where he was going to run it. The Seahawks will do that with Russell and find ways to they really like to do that a lot early. And I know that's another thing that drives fans crazy sometimes. Why do you start out running the ball? But part of it is I know they've always felt like we want to establish the idea in opponents that Russell could take off running at any time, and that's something you're going to have to account for defensively. And they feel like that opens things up. And, that's why a lot of times you see them early on, they do call, the zone reads to try to just, remind that defensive end over there that if you don't account for Russell, if you don't stay over there and you're guarding that edge, Russell's just going to keep the ball and run around it. And he can do this whenever he wants. And, so that will remain a key part of their offense. Shane Waldron's not going to get rid of that. So that'll be what would look different about the offense, the running part of the offense from the Rams part of it. And Chris Carson's a really good, he's really good at that, just like Marshawn Lynch was. There's a little bit of an art to the zone read and being able to read exactly, what you do when the quarterback hands you the ball, when maybe you don't know for sure the quarterback's going to hand you the ball. Chris Carson is really good at that. So, I think that will remain a staple of the running game. I'm sure there will be some subtle differences to how they do some of the rest of it. But I think the basic zone aspect of their run game, that's always been been a big part of their running game in general. I think they'll keep a lot of that stuff. I think that's just something Pete really likes. Mike Solari, who's the offensive line coach, was retained. And that's a big part of what he does as well. And, so I think they'll continue to keep much of that. I don't know that the running game will look a ton different, really. But what might look different though is getting the running backs involved in the passing game a little bit more. I think that's something that McVay really likes. McVay and the Rams have always really liked to do, and I think that's something that they'll try to do. Chris Carson is a good receiver. Rashaad Penny, before he got hurt a couple years ago, was starting to make some big plays in the passing game, and I think they think he's got that kind of ability too. And their other running backs are guys. The 2 guys they drafted in the last couple of years, both DJ Dallas and Travis Homer, are guys they also felt that, Dallas played receiver for a little while in college. So have always been guys they felt like could be really good kind of receivers, running backs who can receive, make plays out of the backfield kind of thing. So, I think that's a part when you talk about the short passing game and stuff like that, the involvement of the running backs in that as receivers is something that you might see more of.
Absolutely. Yeah. There was a report yesterday or a couple days ago I saw on Twitter that DJ Dallas has been the most impressive pass catching back. As you said, it's only been a couple padded practices and 5 or so practices. So there's no generalizations we can make from there. But they were even speculating if that continued, he might take over the third down back role. Do you think that is a possibility? Because that would definitely cap a little bit of Carson's fantasy upside if you take away those receiving chances.
Well, Carson's always come. I don't think that would change Carson's role at all. I mean, he's never been the third down back. The Seahawks have always had a really clear delineation there, and whoever their main back, if it was Marshawn Lynch or when it became Chris Carson, generally they come off the field on third down. And I don't think that's been any different really. So I don't know that would change. They've always wanted to have that, for all the years when it was Marshawn, they had Robert Turbin in that role, and it was pretty clearly defined, and you generally saw Turbin come on the field and in those situations. And that's the role they've envisioned. Like I say, Dallas, went and played receiver for a little while in high school, had that background, or in college. I think that was his initial position at Miami. So when they drafted him, they were pretty open about that they felt that that's what he could be. Really, there are only 2 sort of guys who, for the third down back role, are him and Homer, and Travis Homer's on the PUP list right now with no real clear ETA when he's going to be back. Mm-hmm. So at the moment, it would be Dallas. If the season started today, that would be his role, I think. They wanted to really hand that role to him last year. He really struggled in pass blocking. That really caught, that was a big factor in the loss at Arizona. There were some plays down the stretch that Dallas had to play in that game, and kind of had to play most of it at the end when they had some injuries there. And he's got to get a little bit better at that part, I think, before they fully trust him in that role. But I think, I would think in year 2, he can pick up on that a lot better. And if he does, I think he could easily have that role. Certainly it's an interesting running back core that way. I think, because the other guy who could fit into that is Penny. I think they'll try to get Rashaad Penny on the field quite a bit, as long as he proves he's healthy. And I think they think he could, he could do a lot of the 3rd down 2-minute kind of stuff too. So I think that's a little bit open, but I do think if the season started today, it would probably be DJ Dallas, because I think he sort of fits the overall profile of what they like out of that position the best.
Very intriguing. Yeah. What is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments, check out some more videos, and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.